the idiots are taking over the stock market. What does that mean, right? What I mean by that is we're seeing a point in time where a lot of people are making a lot of money very quickly. And it's not that they're wrong or anything like that, but we've seen a lot of movement in stocks like Open, stocks like RGTI, quantum computing companies, AI companies. If you just, took a handful of money and threw it at the wall, and as long as the company has the word AI somewhere in it, you're making money essentially. And not that that's a bad thing, but a trap that I've personally fallen into myself, and some of you may have fallen into, is I've avoided some of these names because sometimes I look at them and I go like, it's just not like, I don't believe in it, right? I just don't. It may be not technically sound the way I want it to be, or I don't necessarily believe in the vision. It's not that I don't disagree with the ability of something to get where it needs to go, but we're getting to the point. We're not there yet, and I think we're going to go there, and we're going to surpass it. But I think where I was wrong with the market, and I've been waiting for this pullback, I've talked about it, and I'm thinking the market needs a 10% correction. Where I'm wrong, and where I'm willing to be wrong on this, is that as the dollar devalues, equity will continue to hold its value. So equity will continue to rise as DXY goes down. If you don't know that, that's the relationship. As the dollar weakens, the market tends to go up. And the dollar has been weakening and has been kind of on a trend to continue weakening, at least at the last few months, right? And consequently, the market has gone up. That influences more money to pour into the market. That also influences more newer traders to come into the market, right? And I believe we're going to be at the point where it's going to be very easy to make money. And someone like myself, and I know some other traders I respect, have found themselves a little frustrated with seeing overnight 30, 40, 50% gains just because someone mentioned AI or it's a small company and they're like, oh, we now are going to have a deal to do quantum computing or whatever it may be. And we're getting to the point of everyone's talking that we're in a bubble. And we may very well be in a bubble, but the bubble is this big. And I am now have changed my thought process a little bit, and I still would hope we get a correction on the stock market. But if we don't, regardless if we do or we don't, the bubble is only this big right now. And I think the bubble has the ability to get insurmountably huge. I think there is enough room for a very hard rally on your small caps in the near term. If we don't see a pullback on the market, I would watch that all-time high level on IWM very closely because I do believe we're actually going to have a hard break and a push here very soon on IWM. Looking at the monthly, how it's shaped up, this thing's ready to go. We are ready to push here. Now, this is where I have an issue. Excuse me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 green candles in a row. It's been on a tear. Half of the year, from basically your tariff lows, half of the year has just been up, right? And the volume's been increasing as we go up. And this is such a strong sentiment driver. That's why I try to drive home with you guys that your small caps drive the sentiment, at least for me. It's my barometer for overall stock market sentiment, how people feel, if they feel more bullish, more bearish. And IWM continues to push and push and push and push. And if, now that we're sitting at the all-time high, around this all-time high, if we consolidate here for a little bit without any sense of rejection, I think we're at the point where we're really going to keep going here. And with that being said, that opens the door to SPY continuing to just mush to the upside here and hit my 700 price target by the end of the year without getting that correction. It may not come. It just may not. Now, I've personally taken some short positions and made some money shorting the market overnight, but I got out of the way really quickly and made my money and left kind of thing because I'm starting to see this and it's starting to look like, yes, there are arguments in place for some level of a pullback on the market, but the sentiment is so strong and we're seeing these companies, AMD announced a deal with OpenAI, gapped up to a new all-time high. Just shy of its all-time high. And just off the news of talking about that, I want to remind you right now that this is a $300 billion company, and it is appreciated. I believe it was almost 50% at the open. Massive appreciation here. 35%, something like that. Hold on, right there. 33%. on a gap up. It's a massive company to do that, right? The fact that that much liquidity has moved around that quickly, that to move this stock and have it gain over a third of its value overnight just because someone farted out the words OpenAI. And yes, obviously business, that says that they're going to be making more money in the future. I'm just trying to highlight the importance of sometimes things get to the point where they are illogical. And as a person who is a very logic-brained individual, when things move to the realm of irrationality, I have a very hard time coping with it because I can't justify things. It's just like, it's just going up because it's going up. And I just saw a really funny tweet the other day. I was in reference to Lucid stock. And someone made a joke on how they bought it and they set their price target for $50. And they said, well, how did you get the price target of $50? What made you come up with that? And he said, well, I put my thumb up my butt. I held it up and went, that's about right. And I think that's where the kind of rhetoric that we're getting into in this market, where we're seeing a lot of names get a really strong push. And when I'm saying the idiots are taking over, I'm not calling you or me or anyone necessarily an idiot. But when I say an idiot, I'm talking about the dumber money kind of aspect that we saw back in 2021. A great example is Tilray. And I don't believe that was 2021. That was 2018 when we had the weed hype, right? The original weed hype. Yeah, 2018. This thing IPO'd at $23, and I think it was like 3 days. Hold on, let's go all the way back to the daily chart here. But in a very short amount of time, this chart went all the way up to $300. Or it wasn't 3 days, but within a 2-month period, okay, still went all the way up to $300 from a 2022 whatever it was dollar IPO. Insane on nothing. Right? I mean, yes, they sell weed and whatever is pharmaceutical fluff, hot air, story stocks. I am now, again, what I'm going to be wrong about and what I'm opening myself up to be wrong about, I am now ready to take extra risk on story stocks. Stocks that, like aviation names like Joby and ACHR, that are these kinds of names that can push higher. Just because in the future there could be more money involved with them. On some of these AI stocks, just because in the future they could make more money, right? I think that's where short term the opportunity is going to be. And when I say things are going to be like 2021, and this was a 2018 example, but when things are going to be like 2021, when COVID happened, we saw, for example, GameStop went whatever, it was $5 to 400, 420.69, I think exactly. But we're going to see this happen. And I'm pretty confident of that right now. Especially as long as the dollar stays suppressed, more people are going to pump money into the economy into the stock market to kind of buffer the fall a bit. And I think a lot of these story stocks, people are going to be in and out like that, or they're going to make their money near term. Again, 1 month, 2 month, 3 month, and eventually the music's going to stop and you're going to be left holding the bag if you're not careful. But that opportunity is still there. Now, I will say, I think what the sweet spot is, if you are interested in playing some of these story stocks, you obviously have to take a certain amount of risk, right? Because you understand these companies, a lot of them don't make money, or they're on the way to making money, but they don't make money yet, or they have high debt, whatever it is. They're not going to be attractive on a fundamental basis. They actually may not be attractive even on a technical basis. But neither necessarily was Open recently. Open moved up from that 91-cent low. Well, this was 2022, so let's be a little bit more realistic. Let's go into the future, right? Sorry. I knew it was lower. So mid-year, 6 months ago, it was at 50 cents. I know some people in the comments are going to get butthurt, but nothing materially with a company is going to change unless they're bought out or something between 6 months ago and today. For it to appreciate from the lows to the highs, 2,000%. Okay? Let's keep it real, right? Yes, they may make more money, they have deals, whatever, but nothing warrants a 2,000% pump unless it's a story stock, unless there's hype, there's social media behind it, there's a short squeeze, there's all of these other mechanics at play, right? And that's what I really want to focus on when I'm saying the idiots are taking over. Crypto plays are going to start getting more heat as well because the dollar is depreciating. People are going to want to funnel their money into crypto, right? These are the things I want you to think about as you approach the market. So again, to summarize this little segment, I believe the idiots are going to be taking over here short term. When I say idiots, I mean the dumber money. And you, as a trader, especially if you've been doing this a while, you may have to suspend your belief a little bit and actually maybe keep your risk a little looser. And so, conversely, you would lower your size in theory, but keep your risk a little looser where you allow for these big moves, you allow for these big runs. I personally have taken profits too early on certain positions because I just thought they would be done. Or they hit a key resistance area and they retraced and whatever, but there was so much more left on the table, right? And as I would heavily suggest you consider, the best way to play this, you have exposure via equity that you just ride, but you trade with options. So you buy equity of these story stocks and you're patient, and you day trade or you swing trade, so shorter term trade your options. That is what I think about the market in its current condition. That's why I might actually be wrong here. So we'll see what happens in the near future. But that's what I think we're shaping up to look like here in the next 2 months or so.